Hello YouTube. This video is to show you how to use Tasker to take an address from Google Maps and automatically pass it into Waze, the navigation app, so that you can use Waze to navigate to your destination, but use Google Maps to look up your destinations. I always use Waze whenever I'm traveling, but I always find that I want to be able to look places up with Google Maps, and there was never really a good automatic way to find a location in Google Maps and just automatically have Waze take you there. So what I'm going to show you is the Tasker task that I created. It's called Navigation by Waze, and I'm going to open that up. Now, before I open it up, I'll say that there's a function in Google Maps that I recently found, and that is when you look up a location and you pull up the card for that location, it almost always contains an address. And by simply long pressing on the address, it will copy the address to the clipboard. So that's kind of the key piece in making this task work. So we'll go into the task, and I'll open that up. And I do a lot with the different variable functions that Tasker provides. The first thing I do is, again, when this task launches, it assumes that an address has been loaded to the clipboard. And that, again, is a simple function of long pressing on an address in Google Maps. So when you do that, it stores the address into the system variable called clip, and I assign that to my own variable called clipboard. Once I have that, then I do a variable search and replace, and what I do, it will return an address of a street number and a street and a town and maybe even a zip code. But to be able to get the GPS coordinates, I'm going to pass that. I need to pass that to Waze. Waze will accept a GPS longitude and latitude, so I need to be able to convert a street address into a set of GPS coordinates. So here what I'm doing is I need to format the address that I got from Google Maps in a way that I can do a request to Google Maps and get the actual GPS coordinates. So here what I'm doing is I'm searching. You can't really see it, but on search, I'm searching on the space, just an empty space, and I'm going to replace that with a plus sign. That's the format that the address needs to be when you do an HTTP GET command to pass that to the Google Map API. So I simply take the clipboard contents, assign it to a variable called clipboard, and then I search for a space, and I'm going to replace every space with a plus sign. So once I have that, I now have the correctly formatted address, and then I'm going to do an HTTP GET. Now, HTTP GET was a bit of a challenge. It took me a while to figure out how to use it. I read different things on the web about getting an API key from Google, and every time I tried to do an HTTP GET with my API key, it would always fail. And then just on a chance, I removed the API key, and it worked. So I can't explain that because everything I've read said you need the API key, but in this particular case, it's working without the API key. So on an HTTP GET, your server port is going to be HTTPS and maps.googleapis.com, and the path takes you to the geocode portion of the API, and I pass it the address that I've already transformed into the properly formatted address, that is the address with plus signs, which is contained in the clipboard variable. So when I pass that, it's going to return to me a set of text in the variable HTTPD. So that variable contains the response from the Google Maps API. So I'm going to take that, the contents of that variable, and put it into my variable HTTP lat. This is where I'm going to get the latitude. Once I get that, I looked at the file. I basically used Tasker to kind of write it to a file, and then I could look at, what the format was. And I found that after the text string of double quote lat double quote space colon, there was the latitude coordinate. So I split the text that came back from the HTTP GET using the lat text string as the delimiter. And then once I got to that point, I used the variable section command, and I basically counted the number of characters I needed after the colon, and it was 1 through 10. So I used variable section to cut out characters 1 through 10. That's going to be my latitude, and I assign it to HTTP lat 2. Actually, I think in here, when I do HTTP lat 2, which is here, I'm going to take that and store the result in a variable called latitude. So now I've done an HTTP GET on the address, and I now have the latitude of my destination. So then I kind of repeat that to get the longitude. Now, somebody smarter than me can probably take that HTTPD text string and get both the latitude and longitude. I found it a little bit tricky to do that, so I just do 2 HTTP GETs. I use this one to get the latitude, and then I do another HTTP GET, and I'm going to do the same thing. It loads essentially the same text into HTTPD. I split it on longitude. That's the text string to find longitude. Now my longitude has it's a negative number, so there's an extra character, that's the negative sign. So in this case, I had to do a variable section from 1 to 11. And once I did that, I assigned that to the longitude variable, and now I've got what I need. I have the I have both the longitude and latitude of the destination I want to go to. And all I'm going to do now is a send intent, and that send intent is going to pass the action of android.intent.action.view, and the data I'm using is the URI to get to Waze. So it's the Waze URI, and you can see that I have the latitude variable and the longitude variable, and I append the and navigate equals yes, which tells Waze that when it receives that latitude and longitude, it should automatically navigate to that location. Okay, so that's the task. And then what I did was I created a Tasker shortcut. Might be a little hard to see here. I called it navigation by Waze, but it only shows navigation. This is not the Waze app. It's a Tasker shortcut, and I just use the Waze icon for that particular Tasker shortcut. So if I were to press that, it's going to assume, as we saw before, that there was already loaded in the clipboard an address that I want to go to. So I'm not going to do that yet. I'm going to go to Google Maps. And so I'm going to click on Google Maps. And there's a coffee shop I like to go to. You can basically pick anything from, your saved locations or anything that you look up. In this case, I want to use that. There's that coffee shop. So whenever you pick a location or search for a location, Google Maps will show it to you on the map, but it will also have a card with information. Now, if you'll notice that part of the information is the address, and all you have to do is long press on the address and it copies it to the clipboard. So given that we have a full address copied to the clipboard, we're now all set to basically activate the tasker task using the shortcut that I created on the desktop. And all I do is press on that. It's going to run that routine that we just looked at before. It's going to go out and do the HTTP gets. It got the coordinates, the longitude and latitude, pass that to Google Maps, and I'm going to say go. And automatically it brings up the route, and you can see, maybe you can't see, I don't know how the video looks, but it just routes me all the way to a different town where I have my favorite coffee shop, and I follow that once I get to Middletown, and there it is. So it's really handy. It's really just look something up in Google Maps, long press the address, go back out to the desktop, click that shortcut, and Waze is going to take you there. So hopefully you find this useful. If you are a tasker expert and you know a better way to do this, I'd love to hear about it. This took me a little bit of time to figure out how to pass stuff and parse stuff from the Google Maps API, but I finally got it working. It's really handy, especially if you're a Waze user, because Waze is not very good at looking up places, just really finding destinations. Google Map kind of excels at that, and this is a way to take that information that you find in Google Maps, pass it to Waze, and be on your way. So thank you for watching, and if you like what you saw, hit like, and if you have any comments or questions, put them below. Thank you.